Hi, I'm Heather Ramsier. I teach NSC on the Osceola campus.
Hi, I'm Noraida Velez, and I'm a financial aid specialist at the Osceola campus.
And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about the services that are available to students and even individuals in the community through two products that the college is involved with. One is called GradReady, and the other one is Financial Aid TV. But a little bit of background information, and this kind of relates to some of the information you've been seeing throughout the whole entire day. You're going to see a little bit of an overview of what you've heard from Julio, what you heard from Karen, what you heard from Elisa. Ironically, all these things have kind of tied together, and so it might be like been there, done that, heard that. A lot of the tools that are available to our faculty, to our students, and to people in the community, they involve some type of pre-quiz assessment. A pretest to establish a baseline. So we wanted to kind of make sure you were involved. And so first question, waiting for your input. We have actually some prizes.
Yes.
If you want to raise your hand. If you think you know the answer.
Yes. D. No, it's not D.
That's what they told us at our meeting,
Wow.
Our Valley meeting.
Yes.
B.
They did, right?
You're correct.
Yes.
It's B. All right.
I know financial literacy.
Because we're getting that through.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So baseline, this is from the GradReady program. One of the pretest questions that it asks students is, what is a general guideline? What should you be saving as the minimum, right? Going above and beyond, doing that 6%, doing that 10%, that would be great. And some of us, I know, look at my past and it's like, yeah, I need to step it up and maybe do that because of what I did when I was immediately out of college. I need to make up the difference. But doing something like that, making sure our students know what the baseline is and where they should be saving for their retirement.
So we thought 10% or 6% even because that's the ideal amount that we would like to save up, right? However, it's difficult to focus on a future savings, such as retirement, when there's still some unfinished business and some things that we need to take care of now, such as student loan debt. So when our students are graduating from college, they have that 6-month grace period most of the time. And then once that grace period is ending, ta-da! That letter comes in the mail, and now they have to start repaying back their loans. They're getting their jobs. They're probably getting a house or somewhere to live. So although saving up for long-term goals such as retirement is a priority, at the moment it may not be a student's priority. That's why it encourages students to at least save up that 3% at the time because they're still trying to pay back their student loans.
So if you were a good listener this morning, if you were here when Julio was speaking, you should already know the answer. He's in the room. There's pressure now, right? There's a pressure on this answer to fill in the blanks for this question. So going back to that data that we have from the year 2017, 2018, what was student loan debt? Katie, you already got it.
1.6 trillion?
Isn't it 1.52 trillion according to Leonard's little intro right here?
That is correct.
Yep. So Katie, well, you
No, I don't need another prize.
I know who you're going to give it to, maybe. Share the ball. And the amount, this data is coming to us from Department of Education and iPads, is that 11.2% of borrowers are currently behind on their loans. And so that's a concern. The thing that might cross your mind, as it did mine when I was planning this with Noraida, is that, okay, but our students don't start repaying their loans until they're done with college. But that's not the case for some of them. Some of them are taking out unsubsidized loans, and they're starting to have payments while they're still our students. And so they're the students that are in our classes, that are in our offices, and we're encountering them, and we're thinking like, oh, they're not having to deal with that yet, but they are. And we're finding that our students are falling into that default category.
And then we also pulled out some further information nationwide, so on a more broader spectrum, right? Some information from iPad. And it's for for students in a 2-year institution, right? 36% of our students nationwide receive a Pell Grant. And from those 36% of our students, they're receiving $4,600, which 21% of them receive federal student loans. And that 21% alone is about $4,800. $19,300 is an average of their cumulative loan amount borrowed in just 2015. So imagine how that number is today. So this was nationwide. Now we're going to look at our Valencia students. So our Valencia students on a 2-year degree, and this was just taking out an associate's degree. It's not counting technical certificates, AS. So alone, it's 39% of our students are receiving Pell Grant, which is saying, well, our students are being helped. They are receiving financial aid to go to school. And the average of that Pell Grant for 2015-16 was $3,874. Now, what percentage of our students receive student loans? 17%. 17% of our students receive student loan, and the average of the federal student loan that they're receiving is $5,120, which $8,000 was the average of accumulative loans that they borrowed in 2015-16 aid year. Now, to this part, our 3-year cohort default rate. I love talking about this because this chart shows us how our cohort default rate as a college has reduced throughout the years. So, for example, in 2006, 3,026 of our students received student loans, and 11.9% of those students were in default, which were a total of 362 students. And as we see on the chart, between 2010 and 2011, that amount increased significantly. However, what we should focus on is that it has been decreasing. So as an institution, our student loans has decreased from what was at some point 20.3% to 13%, and it's still decreasing as of today. So that is because of the student loan awareness that we're bringing forth to our students. As a college, as a community, our financial learning ambassadors go to the classrooms and tell students about loan awareness. Yes?
Do you think that also has to do with, like, now that we have summer Pell back again? Like, less people are taking out loans over summer?
Yes, I believe that that's part of it, because just like that, now that summer Pell is available, they're not taking out loans. Sometimes students summer was their last semester to graduate, or they had plans to transition to another university in the fall, and they're like, well, I guess I have to take out a loan because maybe they didn't have enough for the summer, or they exhausted their financial aid and they don't have their refund anymore, or whatever the case is. So now that there's that summer Pell, that does help. We do teach our students, hey, before taking out a student loan, there's the Pell Grant, there's these scholarships. Don't be too quick on signing off on a student loan. And also telling them, if you do need to take out a loan, you don't have to accept the full amount. Just this portion, and just know what comes after accepting a loan. So just to prevent default.
I stole this one from you earlier. So the trellis data, you saw that when Karen was presenting, if you were in the audit in the PCA earlier. She shared the data from Trellis as part of her presentation. We actually have a printout. If any of you want the nice, pretty printout to hang on your office wall, on your door, to share with those that you interact with. But we have a quick video that we want to share because, again, some of that data she did pull out. But what we're asking you to look for is, when the video's playing, is what are you finding that's shocking or surprising, that you're I didn't expect that. Some of it you may expect, but what is the surprises that you're noticing? So very great video and statistics. Now, was there something from the video that you heard or that you saw that was shocking to you? What is your opinion on the information? Was there something that you already suspected that you're
Yes, that seemed about right. Yes.
Yeah, the biggest one for me was if I read it right, 36% pay for their college with their credit card.
Yes.
And of course, I'm thinking they're probably not paying off the credit cards in 1 month, so they don't have to pay the interest, which means they're paying some crazy amount of interest on top of it.
Yeah. And that comes from many things. That comes from maybe I don't want to take out a loan, so I'm just going to go take out a credit card. Or although our offices are very welcoming, some students are intimidated or they're scared to talk to someone. Maybe it's their first time in college. Maybe they didn't have someone guiding them along the way, so they don't dare to go and approach someone to ask, what are my next steps? How do I apply? Is there financial help for me to go to school? Or we assume I'm not going to be eligible, my parents just work and don't apply, so I'm just going to take the easy way out and just swipe that credit card to pay for my college education because I still want to go to school. That's where that 36% comes out of. It's very unfortunate. I'm glad that we're able to come together to encourage our students to come by and get more information.
Anything else shocking, surprising?
I went to a conference this week and she put a slide on the board that said, like, we're all one health problem away from a financial crisis. And like that was for the people in the room, but then like her next slide was multiplying it by our first gen students that take care of their families. And like that was devastating. Like the food stuff is honestly just devastating because like sometimes I think our biggest problem is that like I don't understand the email that went out from financial aid and I work here. And then, but I don't think about them like not having food or a nutritious meal at all that week. Like that is just heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I think the one that surprised me the most is the 51% that help support their family financially. I think as faculty, staff, it's although we see the student, it's a family affair.
Yeah.
So sometimes we just have to not see the student as just that person, but know that they could be in that 51%, that their outcome of coming to school and being successful is a turnaround to the whole family.
Yes, definitely. We're assisting that one student, but we're also helping that family. It counts for more than one because that 51% of our students help their families. So anyone else?
So let's talk a little bit about the two tools that are really the focus of the session. So GradReady and Financial Aid TV. GradReady is a tool that can really help students become more financially aware. Most of them during their high school experience have had some type of exposure to financial literacy through their economics classes, but it's still not enough. They come in unprepared, not sure about loans, not sure about what FAFSA exactly is. If you ask them, like, do you get financial aid? They say no, but then they tell you, like, but I applied for FAFSA, and it's like, they don't understand that terminology. Like, oh, do you get financial aid? No, but I get scholarships. It's like, no, scholarships are a form of financial aid. So they don't understand the terms. And so GradReady does a really great job of explaining that. So there's some outcomes that GradReady can clearly explain to you if you decide to sign up for an account. The beautiful thing about GradReady is that it's not just available to our students. Through the Valencia webpage, any individual can actually sign up for an account. When they're actually going in to sign up for an account, my goodness, I'm having trouble speaking today. There's a lot of different tools that they're going to have access to. And so I encourage you, if you don't have an account yet, to check it out. When a person makes an account, it's going to have that follow-up process. It's really a great thing. In the past, the college used something called USA Funds, and some of you might be familiar with USA Funds when we previously used that tool. It really didn't have a follow-up feature. A student would make an account, and they would go in and maybe explore and watch some of the videos or complete some of the activities, but they didn't really ever have reminders to go back. And GradReady has that built in. They have this email feature that it'll follow up with the individual that creates the accounts. So a student here at Valencia, they're able to go in through their Atlas page, and on the far right, you'll see the financial planner piece, and it's actually indicated by campuses, like whatever campus is their home campus that they would kind of label as that. They're able to go in then and create an account, and that allows us to have some tracking to know exactly which campus has students that are really participating and using GradReady. For individuals in the community that aren't Valencia students, for parents of our students, alumni that want to go in and use the tools, they just go to the Valencia webpage. If they just search in the top corner for GradReady, it's going to allow them to go to the page, and it will still have these links. It's not through Atlas, but it still has campus links. And then when they're actually creating their account, it'll ask them, are you a first-year student, a second-year student? Have you already completed your time at the college? I'm not even a student yet. And so when we actually are pulling the data, we're seeing that there's individuals using GradReady that aren't even students here, or they've already completed time at the college, and that's how they're labeling their account when that's being created. So when the person actually goes in, let me move over here and will you click for me? The program actually has, this is the homepage, they come in, they create an account. When they come in the future, they actually log in. It's got a nice little dashboard, and that actual first step when they open up a path is going to be taking, again, those pre-tests. So audience participation, let's go. True or false to this question regarding completion of FAFSA? True? It is true. And again, any of you that interact with students and you have contact with them regarding FAFSA, you probably have had a student say, I don't need to complete it. My family makes too much money. I know I won't get any aid. And you probably also have encountered a student that, lo and behold, they did get some type of aid. So we encourage all of our students to complete FAFSA. But this is one of the first pre-test questions that they encounter. And there's another one. So we'll take a look at that. So when we talk about unsubsidized loans, this is really confusing to students because they'll see subsidized, unsubsidized pop up in their Atlas account.
C.
Anybody B? You are all right, it is C. The biggest thing is students get confused, and we have different mnemonic devices. People have different, unsubsidized will leave you unhappy. One of the earlier session attendees was saying that subsidized is the shorter word, so it's going to be shorter, smaller payments, whereas the unsubsidized word is longer. You're going to have bigger or longer length of payments because of the interest that's accrued. And I think we have one last question. So when they're taking out that loan, they are signing a promissory note. And Noraida, I know you want to add in about promissory notes when they see them in Atlas.
In our student's Atlas account, here Valencia is also going to be titled in as master promissory note, but it's the same exact thing. Just in general, when talking about loans, it is promissory, but in some institutions, it's going to add that master on it. It's the same thing. It's just for students to know how much I have to pay back, that I acknowledge that I have to pay back, and I'm promising that I'm going to pay it back.
Perfect. Thank you. So GradReady has 4 different paths. The first one is about paying for college. And when the student's looking at the kind of like their dashboard for each of the paths, it's going to have a section that's all about learning, and it'll have 2 other sections that kind of allow them to apply the knowledge or tools that they're able to actually use. So the section for paying for college here, it actually tells them about quizzes that they're going to have the ability to take, and we'll go to the next slide. And so, for example, in the section for paying for college, there's a section all about completing their FAFSA and developing their money skills. So there are actually 3 different videos here. They're usually about 4 minutes or less. And then at the end of watching all the videos, they're able to go in and take a quiz. And so this is where they've got the baseline data. They know how they did when they first opened up GradReady, when they first opened this path. Then after watching the videos, which are just fast-paced, but they've got a lot of visuals in them, a lot of great information, they're able to then take the follow-up quiz. And we'll share some information with you in a moment about how our students are doing on those quizzes. The other nice thing is GradReady also includes other resources, and these could be links out to other things like the Department of Education page so they can learn more about FAFSA, or their tools or pages that GradReady's actually included where, for example, this one is comparing PLUS loans to private loans. And it's a nice little chart that a student can understand, well, why should I take out a federal loan over one, say, from my local bank at the corner? Why would I do that? And so it really allows them to get some additional information. When they move to some of the tools, in Path 1, there's a financing plan, and then there's a budget tool that's available to them. And with the financing plan, this is going to allow them to compare schools. And these slides are going to be available to you later if you want to actually go through them a little bit more closely. But just trying to be conscientious of time, I'm going to go to the next one, which actually shows us the financing plan. The financing plan allows a student to compare how they're going to pay for their education. And so this goes back to the concept of, if you were, again, we're in the keynotes, like thinking just from semester to semester, not the big picture. So this is more of the big picture, and they're actually able to create multiple plans with how they would pay for their education. And they can put in estimated costs, expenses that they will have, and then what they think at the time based on current awards, maybe from their Pell Grant, if they're receiving Bright Futures or some other types of scholarships. And they can actually see if they have a deficit that they'll have to make up. And it can actually have them be more aware that, wait, I'm gonna have a deficit. If I choose to go on to UCF, I'm still gonna get my Pell Grant, but I'm gonna be short each semester some money. Where can that money come from? And maybe they can be more conscious now about their spending. And then the next tool is the budget, which the budget appears in all 3 of the paths. And the budget tool is great because you can edit it. And so it already has income sources like employment and family contributions and student loans. But a student could go in and add additional sources that they might, and then even change the name so it might be more clear. Maybe they have multiple jobs, and so they want to indicate that. Under expenses, it has housing and transportation, all those things the student might encounter, their cell phone bill, all the subscriptions they have to like Netflix, Hulu, Apple Music. So they can add all those things in. And again, it allows them to track how their spending is working. And so there's different budget tools out there. The downside I would say about GradReady is that it's not an app-based product. In fact, in the previous session, one of our attendees tried to sign up and create an account through his phone, and it was giving him issues even creating the account. So there's not an app for GradReady, and so some students might find other budget apps a better use. The nice thing about this one, though, is it does have the idea that they're planning out their budget. It's not an after the fact, oh, what did I spend this month? They're actually coming up with a plan of how much do I want to spend. And again, if we think about like the real world and someone who has a business and you create a budget for the upcoming fiscal year, it's real what we would actually do in the business world. So they're planning out for the month, and then they keep track of what they've actually spent. The other nice quality is that you're able to take the information from one month. You can see this is from April 2017, and you can copy it into the future month. So you can just copy it over, and then if they realize, wow, I spent way too much on my subscriptions, and I didn't really spend any of that money on going out to concerts, they can make adjustments and just update those little portions rather than have to rebuild the budget each month. Path 2 is all about money management. And so it has information all about so many of our students, difference between a credit card and a debit card, credit scores, issues with identity theft. And so it has some tools about that where there's the videos to watch and the quizzes. Again, we'll see, go to the next one. There's the budget tool again that appears. And then the final tool in the money management section that's there is the debtometer. And this allows them to look at the salaries for their jobs and starting salaries for careers that they're interested in, and then what their actual debt may be if they have student loans to repay, so they can really kind of see if this is going to be a good use. A lot of us encounter those students, I'm going to go to the University of Miami, and I'm going to major in elementary education. That's probably not like the best use. Now, the University of Miami is awesome. We have a student, in fact, I have a student this past semester. She came here after the hurricanes hit Puerto Rico. She's just gotten a full ride to the University of Miami to study advertising and PR, right? That's a great fit. She has a full ride. She doesn't have to worry about debt. But to go there and end up $200,000 in debt to be an elementary school teacher doesn't align. And we hear about this all the time. Morehouse College, at their commencement, a little over a month ago, their keynote speaker, he forgave all of their debt. He paid off all the students' debt. And just reading through articles about it, those students that in the audience, they were just in the crowd, they were in tears. Their parents were in tears. Parents that went $220,000 into debt for their student to get a finance degree, a bachelor's in finance. And the student had already projected, it's going to take me at least until I'm about 50 to pay it off. And so the idea that our students can be more informed if they're looking for these tools. So this debtometer is here. And then finally, path 3 is all about real world finance. So our students, we have students from all different walks of life, all different points in their life. So some of them are already thinking about buying a house. They're purchasing cars and taking out car loans. So there's information here about mortgages, about auto loans, about retirement, starting early and letting that compound interest help them for the future. That's in path 3. And so it's always a good idea that if you've got students, and the idea with our session is regardless of where you're encountering students, you might have a piece here that you're like, I could use that with mine. I could find a student, and that student might be able to benefit from one of these tools. So we want you to know that they're here. Again, Path 3 has that good old budget, still there, sitting in the middle. And finally, it also has, last one, I think, maybe we're done. No, next one. It is the electronic loan counselor. So I'm going to let Noraida talk on this because there's other tools that are also really good for electronic loan counseling.
So section 3, not only does it transfer their budget tool that the student was working on in Path 2, but the student here is able to manage their loans. How much loans did I currently take out? They can pull it up from their NSLDS account, but here they can manage it a little bit better. How much do I have to pay a month? Can I pay off a little bit more of my loan each month to reduce the interest in the next 5 years? I got a raise. I could pay off more. Or right now I can't pay off more, but can I possibly go into a different plan? How can I work out what I owe with my loans? They can pull up their loan lender service through this tool. They can add their budget, the loan type, and it's going to pull up their interest rate. So it's like all in one encompassing. What was their loan? How much they have to pay back? The interest. If I'm paying it back in like 5 years or 10 years, how much am I accumulating from interest? What is my interest going to be? Is it worth it? Even prior to taking out a loan or accepting a loan, the students, I've had ambassadors where they actually go to this and start calculating because they're thinking of taking out a loan. We're telling them, well, you're not, and they're like, yes, you don't want to take out a loan, but this and this and this came up with life and I may have to, and after they're calculating it, they're like, no, it's all good. I'm not going to take out a loan. I'm just going to apply for these scholarships, and then we go that route. But that's how we can show our students as well, gives them that bigger picture of, I'm not just going to accept a portion of it because I don't want to accept the full amount. But yeah, you have to pay it back, but in 10 years, you know how much your interest is going to accumulate to? It's more of that like real world experience. They want to take out a house. They want to buy a car. Section 3 has like car financing as well. So it can be the loan with their car financing, with that mortgage that they want to get for that house. It's more relatable to their current situation as students. So at first they learned about budgeting and savings and all that good stuff. Now it's going to go into 5 lessons about real world finances.
So again, how could you be using maybe GradReady with students that you encounter? In the NSC course, the students are already being exposed to it, and many instructors actually teach financial literacy and budgeting through GradReady, that they have the students working in Path 1 and using that budgeting tool. And so for 2017-2018, it's a full academic year that we have the data for. You can see that over 8,000 students made accounts. And then when you follow across, you'll notice that a few below the number that made accounts actually completed that pre-test. A little bit more than half of them followed through and actually made it all the way to the final exam, which is a little bit disappointing. But what is a positive to see in the very last 2 columns is their pre-test scores and then how they improved with their knowledge when they got to the final exam scores. And for some of them, it was like a sizable increase for that institution, like where the students started out and then those that went on and actually completed the final. And so you're welcome to use any parts of GradReady. And if you want additional information, maybe, I know in the first session someone said, well, if they're gonna create accounts, is there directions to help them? And actually, yes, the NSC faculty, Katie's nodding her head, there's a whole document that's been created with step-by-step directions that even include screenshots. And so if a student was wanting to make an account and you were wanting to assist them, my contact information will be available at the final slide. Feel free to email me and I can provide you with the actual step-by-step directions. And I'd be happy to just talk with you if you're wanting to know more details about any one of the features within GradReady. The other product that we wanted to talk about that the college has access to, our students have access to, is Financial Aid TV. Financial Aid TV, ironically, is going to have a name change. The company that provides it to the college has decided to change the name, which is a really appropriate name, but they want to change it to Ocelot. And Ocelot is a type of cat.
How would we know that?
I would know that because you know me, I research everything. So I was like, why Ocelot? And so on their webpage, it actually explains why they're switching it. But it's unique because, again, Financial Aid TV tells the students basically it's short little TV clips about financial aid. Ocelot maybe is a little bit more confusing. And so you might see that actually change in the next few weeks. On our webpage, if a person was to go onto our webpage and just go up to the top search area and put in financial aid, the first link is going to bring you to this page, which is all of our financial aid services. So in the top area, there's all the details with help about the net price calculator and completing FAFSA. The very first link, though, right here, I know it's hard to see on the screen, but this is the link for Financial Aid TV. So it's actually, and it's been very visible on the old webpage and even on this one, but a lot of us don't even know that it's housed here. And so when you click on that, it takes you to the Financial Aid TV homepage, and it has a variety of different topics. You can search, but what I found to be even easier is they already have things grouped into categories. And again, this is available to anyone in the community. They don't have to be a Valencia student because it's housed on our webpage. So a parent could come in to search, our alumni, just a member of the community that's helping with financial aid services, like with finance services, like Julio. He could send someone here in case they had questions about something. And so underneath the different titles, you'll find different videos that are available. And then there's also pieces about the financial aid process. So an example would be, and many of us experience this, we have students that are told that their financial aid's been suspended and they are having an issue with SAP, right? And there goes some of the acronyms and the jargon we use that students get confused by, and that they should fill out a SAP appeal, and the student's like, what is that? Well, if a faculty member or an advisor wasn't exactly sure about that, there's videos, short little videos. This one is 1 minute and 47 seconds long, really brief, to the point for the students, all about SAP. And then it even has literally like a playlist, just like you would find on, say, YouTube, that continues on with the kind of same mindset of what these videos are focused on. There's also videos about, again, things like identity theft. I know you've heard some of the speakers maybe in some of the other sessions today talking about, the students that find out that family members, someone else in the community stole their identity with their social security number, and they're not even aware of it because they haven't even established a credit card yet, so they wouldn't even know. But when that does come up, when questions arise, students can come. And this video is 1 minute long, very short and to the point again. Finally, one of our big focuses at the college, again, is getting students to complete FAFSA. And so there are videos about students when they're a new student, a first-time FAFSA filer. There's videos for those students, and then it looks almost exactly the same. There's ones for students that are renewing, so it looks almost the same. But those students that they think, oh, I got to start all over when I do FAFSA. No, renewing is actually a relatively easy process, so it can walk them through the steps. And these videos will be updated when we get to the 2021 cycle, because that'll be starting actually shortly. And so these are really, really great videos that are available for students to access. And trying to be conscious of time and leave time for questions. So, questions?
Who makes all these videos?
This is an outside company, and the college actually pays for these. Yeah, so that's why we want to make sure every time I talk with Ilya, who's our assistant director, I was want to make sure, assistant director of financial aid at Osceola, I always talk to her about how great they are, but yeah, we're paying for them, and a lot of people don't even know that they're there. Oh, thank you, Lily.
Seems like we could move some to the front of the Valencia homepage. Where there's a place
That's
where
a great
videos go
idea.
out.
Oh, yeah. That's actually, that could be something to do. It was, when it was, before the webpage redesign, it wasn't, this is just text. It used to have a big button. It was more catchy, but I don't even think students recognized it then when it was an actual standalone piece on the right side that was kind of like a button they could click on, and it was literally showed like a video, like it was scrolling. And it's one of those things we get so caught up, we know we're looking for one thing.
So is GradReady accessible to non-Valencia students or only Valencia students?
To all students, and again, anyone in the community. I was gonna say, we can quick pull it up. I mentioned this, but just to quick demo it.
You can access it online. If you go to GradReady, Google search, it'll show up. But for our Valencia students, we highly encourage them to go on the Valencia webpage, search engine GradReady, because they get to choose the campus in which they're at and kind of links it to their account. It's really beneficial to them because they get badges.
So it's like real life. If I'm in Kissimmee, taking the courses in Kissimmee, you're going to tell me what Kissimmee is doing with me. And if I
Yeah.
decided to change to East Campus for whatever reason, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
We use it as a training course with our financial learning ambassadors, which we have campus-wide. And then a lot of our students take it like from our NSE classes. So that's another tool that we use to inform our students about financial literacy and loans and all that. So it's also important to link it up to a specific campus, to their location. Yeah.
I heard you for this, but the financial aid TV, you typed in financial services or financial aid? in the
Financial
search engine,
aid.
And then they didn't have to log in, so like for parents, same jam with that.
So parents can use this, and that's any of you that interact closely with students, you'll find that if a parent accompanies them, there's a lot of times that there's misunderstandings by the parents about what they're able to do. The parents, I know I've encountered it, that when they find out that the student's getting aid, they're getting a full Pell Grant, and they're like, oh, that's so great, I wish I could come back to school. It's like, you could. Like, your child's coming back because your EFC is not high enough to fund your child. Do the FAFSA yourself, and then they end up doing it, and they end up being able to take classes. And so I think it's that trickle down or that ripple effect that we can really have impact within families if they're informed. The tools that we've also been talking about, and again, in our first session, we had someone from Covenant House, and they were kind of offering up things. But like, if you have students that you interact with that are homeless, or you have students that are looking for scholarships, our scholarship bulletin board, which is part of the financial aid page, it's organized chronologically, and it's the whole thing I tell my students when they're going in and they're clicking on them, or when they look at them. There's one that's, I can't remember the exact name, but it's something truck scholarship. So students looking at me like, well, I don't own a truck. It sounds horrible. It's for a student that's been involved in an accident, an auto accident involving a truck. And it's like a $1,000 scholarship. And they have to write an essay and provide proof that they were involved in an accident involving where a truck hit them, or they were riding in a truck and it was hit. It's like, that's like the duct tape scholarship and the left-handed scholarship and all
I
this.
have that. At Samuel Community College, you had a $500 scholarship per semester if you were left-handed.
Man, the left-handed scholarship. So the students, the chronological list, it's really deceiving. It's great because students can go in and say, well, you know, I don't have time this month to do a scholarship application, but they could look forward. But I've actually had a student that printed it off and started going through and highlighting the ones that fit. They come across ones from law offices. And again, a student would assume, oh, I must be needing to do legal studies, paralegal, criminal justice. No, it just happens to be a law firm has established a scholarship for Valencia students, and they want to be able to hand select that individual. And so it's not part of the foundation. And so they can apply for those. And so I've had students go through and they're like, I took a whole day and I went through and I read like the ones that are available in the next like 5 months, and I've highlighted all the ones I can apply for. And they're like shocked. They're like, there's so many. And so they are out there, and we often say it. I know financial aid says it, and that they're scholarships, but they cannot be awarded. And it's true that there's scholarships out there, and they end up going to people that are not qualified, that just applied, that they weren't left-handed, but no one that was left-handed applied because they figured, well, I'll never get it because there's probably a lot of applicants, and lo and behold, the right-handed person gets it.
Yeah, there's a story. One of my coworkers, one of his friends, he applied for a scholarship for African American women, and it was a white male with blue eyes, blonde hair, and he got it because he was the only person who applied.
That's, before we wrap up, one thing we want to note, anyone that is faculty on a campus, I don't know if you want to mention financial learning ambassadors because she's here in the room.
Yes, definitely. So on every campus, we have a great group of our own students that they count as student leaders, and they're called the financial learning ambassadors. Their mission is to promote financial awareness among the student body through peer-to-peer learning, and they do this through a series of skill shops, tabling events, campus events, also in collaboration with student development. They also receive students into their offices or their space to assist students with the FAFSA application. They do a variety of FAFSA nights and scholarship workshops throughout the whole year, mainly during the fall semester, but they do go out to the community to assist students and families with financial aid. So I was told that there was more information about that, So if you have any other information or you would like for the ambassadors to present to your NSC classes or any class, we'll go to any class, you can feel free to contact us. I'm at the Osceola campus. My contact information is on the screen, but we do have an advisor to the program at every campus. Yes. Yeah. All right.